everybody. You're watching Deen Talk here on Deen TV, and as you know, Deen TV is always on, always live. So we were just talking to our guests about what they thought their faith told them about racism, about justice and truth and things like that. There was a very important topic that I didn't mention, and that's what we're going to talk about this segment, which is forgiveness. All right, forgiveness, because I think you guys are in a this is going to test everybody's ideals. It's going to test your ethics, because there's a concept, even in Islam, that if somebody does something wrong, you have to do something about it. If you don't do something about it, people are going to think it's okay, and other people are going to do it, right? So if you have somebody comes to you on a bus and says, yelling, and the bus driver or the principal sees it, and if they don't reprimand that person or make sure that they get some type of punishment, then somebody else is going to be like, oh, it was okay, so I'll do it. How do you balance that with what I see a lot of people doing? It's like, no, I don't want to press charges. I don't want to do anything. I don't want this to affect them long term. You know, Hamza's last segment said, think about what it's going to do to you and them long term. So how do you balance his forgiveness while also trying to make sure that make an example so that other people don't do this, and it creates this huge climate of hate and people getting bullied or even death? We've heard people getting caught on fire or shot or stabbed. What do you guys think about that? Who wants to start? Maybe on the left, somebody want to start this time? Nope. All right, we're going to the right. Who wants to start? I mean, it's okay if you keep starting. I know she's like, I can always start. But, this is a talk show, so we here to talk, get to know one another, just make sure everybody knows.
I feel like it depends on the situation. Like, you have to think from the standpoint that some people might feel like, oh, we can't do certain things because, like, we got to keep, I don't know, like, a certain, like, vision of a Muslim, like, sometimes. But you also have to think, if this wasn't a case based on religion, if this was either racial discrimination or just bullying in general, what would you do? And you have to step out of thinking that, oh, because I'm a Muslim, I have to take these certain actions. Because I know some people are like, I don't want to do a certain thing because Muslims are kind and forgiving. But if it's something very serious, and if you step out and think, if this was in a different situation, what would I do? And
you know what I see when you say that? I see this imagery of, so if I have my headscarf on, and somebody comes up and calls me terrorist and go back to the country and deport it, and maybe even calls me some curse words, because I have that because you have that headscarf on, you're going to be like, okay, I'm a Muslim, I have to be kind and gentle. But if you didn't have the headscarf on, you'd be like, excuse me, what you say? Oh, no, you didn't. And you want to fight. Mm-hmm. Is that the difference that you're talking about?
No, I'm talking in a difference of, I feel like either way you have to do it in a respectful and reasonable way, but there's some people who don't feel like they are supposed to stand up. Like in a situation of wearing a scarf, there might be some girls like, I'm not supposed to say anything, I'm just supposed to keep on walking. Or there's some girls who are like, no, I want to stop and talk to them about what they're saying and say my point of view. And sometimes either girls are scared, they're like, no, there's a certain, like, I can't say certain things, I'm not allowed to say certain things, which isn't true. If there's something that's very close to you, as in religion, if hijab is something that's a big part of you, you are definitely allowed to speak up about it. Because either they might not just be educated, or they might be trying to make a scene, and you walking off keeps the words that they said the only words that resonate in everyone around you.
Hold on, let me ask you. The guy that was approaching Hamza, you look scared. I ain't gonna beat you up, man. The guy that was approaching Hamza on the bus and said that, did he call you a terrorist? Yeah. And said that your book is corrupted. What do you think should have happened if you were the principal and this was brought to you? What do you think should happen to that guy?
I would have suspended him.
You would have suspended him?
Yep.
Okay. Now, Hamza, would you support that suspension, or would you talk to the principal and say, hey, that's a little harsh. I don't think that's, maybe we should just talk to him. What would you say?
I think I would talk to him because I don't know what's going on within his life. So there could be something else that might be provoking this. Maybe he had something happen to him.
So you think the principal shouldn't do anything?
He should talk, or he or she should talk to him, and maybe like counseling and figure out what's going on.
Fatima, what do you think? Two questions for you. Do you think you agree with that suspension? And if not, what would somebody have to do to you or to somebody else in your school to be worthy of a suspension?
Well, for me, if I was a principal, I would give them in-school suspension. And I think, it should be important for the principal to talk to him, but that's also like saying, if I was the person who called you a terrorist, I'd be like, I got off easy, man. It's fine. Because every single day people are told, like, oh, you shouldn't be harassing people for this, but they still do it. There needs to be some kind of punishment, but they also need to educate themselves and talk about it. When you were talking about forgiveness, I was thinking about how what really is forgiveness, and I think that's just like not holding a grudge. So for example, if somebody called me a terrorist or called me out because like, oh, you're being so submissive by wearing a hijab, letting men tell you how to cover and things, like I would talk to them. I would forgive them for what they said to me because they're uneducated. You have to think about it like, is it really their fault for being for saying that to me because their only source of information was their parents, and their parents told them that I was forced to wear a scarf?
So I want to get a pulse from you guys here. We got about 2 minutes left before we're going to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
But what do people have to do to get suspended in your mind? She said that was, in her mind, that's in-school suspension would happen to you. But let's go with you, because you were like, we should just talk to him. What would somebody have to do to you for you to feel like this principal should suspend this person?
So, I mean, definitely something that gets physical. That
Okay.
would have to be suspension. But maybe...
But sometimes words hurt more than fists.
So,
right?
yeah, so what if... I think it would be if someone really hurts you down. Like, if... I know there are people that have no confidence whatsoever. So, I think it also depends on the victim that is being bullied. Because some people can set other people straight if they have that confidence. Going back to what Amani said, that if, like, you're wearing hijab, right? And then you do what, like, you wouldn't do what other people would do. Like, you have to stay calm. I think it's, if you are confident, you leave that impression on the other person.
Okay. We're going to give Harun the last word, but Amani, do you agree with that, or what would you say?
I feel like it's very interesting when you asked him what he would do in the situation and what he would do if, I don't know, like, the thing is, especially whenever I read stuff about bullying or cyberbullying or just bullying in general, people who are bullied are very reluctant to either telling the bully that they should get a certain suspension or going to talk to adults about it, as in if there was a bystander. They're like, this was wrong, this should happen and this should happen. And so it depends on, like, I don't know, I feel like it depends on the person. So if I was watching someone get hurt, I would definitely say, like, they should be suspended, this should happen, because that wasn't okay. But being the person, sometimes people fear and either backlash they might get for it
Right.
or
Or
the
the
situation
bully more.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I just think it depends on, like, the situation.
Well, Harun, you saved by the bell. We're going to have to see what you say when we come back for break, so I want you to be thinking about it. For the rest of you, you're watching Deen Talk. In the break, we're going to play a little segment from a slam poetry jam session they're going to be talking about Islamophobia. This is amazing, these three people. I watched it 3 times. Now I want you to watch it. We'll be back.
On June 17th, 2015, Dylan Ruff walked into a midweek Bible study. He sat and prayed with the church members before pulling out his gun, killing most, and allowing one to live. After the incident, he was found and arrested peacefully. When Dylan Ruff killed 9 innocent black people, we did not question his God. He wore flags of apartheid Africa. We did not question his allegiance. He committed the crime alone. We did not question his people. When Adam Lanza shot a classroom full of first graders at Sandy Hook Elementary, we did not ask him to leave the country. When Timothy McVeigh killed 168 people in Oklahoma, we did not call this a crime against every American. When the KKK killed thousands of black people while swearing to uphold Christian morality, we did not ask them to remove their robes. We did not call all Christians bigots. Do you see it? How we don't label all white men based on the sins of a few. Do you see it? How we don't have to condemn a whole class of people based on the actions of some. Do you see it? How all the names are different. How all the faces are different. How all the people are different. Therefore, we should not condemn all Muslims for the radicalism of a group. If you want to persecute ISIS, go ahead. But to persecute ISIS is to persecute those that gave them power. To persecute persecute those that gave them power is to persecute the U.S. government. Do your research. Islam is not synonymous with terror. It is literally submission. It is devotion. It is peace. Terrorism is actually forbidden, and jihad does not mean holy war. It means struggle. It means survival. It means standing face to face with everything that wants to put you in the ground and choosing to be alive. Do your research and stop listening to CNN. Stop trading humanity for hypocrisy. Stop staring at Muslims in the airport. Stop letting your fear drag you into ignorance. Stop supporting billionaire Republicans who want to scare you into murdering the innocent, and start supporting leaders who speak peace in their native tongue. Instead of burning down the mosque, burn down the walls around the pulsating muscle in your chest and realize that we all have one. And lastly, as the customary greeting goes, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Wa alaikum assalam. And upon you be peace. Do you see it?
Welcome back, everybody. I am Joshua Salaam. I don't even know how many times I've told you that, but now I am Joshua Salaam, and you're watching Deen Talk, and I'm here with my beautiful, wonderful, intelligent, talented guests, and we're going to jump right back into it. We left it with Harun Salam being able to talk about what would it take, what does somebody have to do for him to think suspension or more serious punitive action is due. So Harun, in your mind, what would somebody have to do to you for you to be like, look, if this person doesn't get suspended, I'm going to be upset?
Well, if they're harassing me or any other student, and it's gone past the point of like jokingly like messing with them, and the person has told them to stop multiple times, and they just keep saying it, at a certain point it becomes more than like harassment. It's like just like instigating them to like see how far they can go, and that's
kind of hard to say though. Like how long? Because the person said, "Oh, we were just doing it for a little bit." Like how long does somebody have to get harassed before you think like, okay, hey, that's too much? Do they have to report it, or like he said, does it have to get physical? What do you think?
Well, that's all depending on the like mood of the like harassing situation. Like if both people are laughing and they're like, man, whatever, be quiet, man, they're like friends. But if it's like a guy you don't know like picking on you like that, I think it should be it should be a suspension.
So you said something interesting. Well, everybody has said something interesting, all right? But the last two interesting things that I remember was something Harun and Amani said, which is like it depends on the person. So would a principal say, "Hey, come on, Amani, you're tough. You can take it. Let's just go easy on this guy"? What do you mean? It depends on the person. Shouldn't it be the action is itself worthy of something, some type of action, or it just really depends on the person, how tough they are, things like that?
I'm not sure if I miscommunicated this. Not the person who's getting bullied. It's both people that have to be. It depends on both of them. Like I saw this thing that was happening like right after the election where these kids were going up to like the Hispanic people. Because my school, Herndon High School, has like a high population of like Hispanic people, and they were going up to them being like, they didn't really speak that much English, but they'd be like bye.
Oh, like bye, you're gonna be leaving.
Yeah,
now?
like after the election.
Yeah, that's kind of cruel.
Yeah.
But that's not worthy of any. Like, if that's not worthy of suspension, what should you do to a student that goes up to somebody and goes, "Bye, you're out of here now"?
They should definitely be reprimanded if that was like witnessed by like
school suspension.
an administrator.
But I also feel like, sure, a suspension or something held by the administration is effective. But I also, something that I don't think we've really been talking about is bystanders and people who are there witnessing it. So if you're someone there witnessing it and you're like, oh, these kids have to be suspended, but you don't go up and confront them in the situation at that time and really just wait for the administration to handle it, because as I said before, there's a lot of people, when they are harassed or when they are bullied, they have a fear of standing up and talking to adults. And so when you're a bystander, I feel if you're not in this situation, if you're not the one being bullied, if you're not the one bullying, I feel like your role is of higher importance in getting the word out and to tell someone either of authority or to go up and try to stop it as soon as possible.
I watched a video online that I felt was very informative. It taught people how to help somebody who's being harassed in public, right? I don't know if you guys saw this on Facebook or something like that. So what they said is, if you see somebody yelling at a immigrant or a black person or a Muslim person or a Hispanic person, whatever, and they're just being taunted and nobody's doing anything, they said, don't yell at the person who's yelling. Go and talk to the person who's being yelled at and be like, hey, what's going on? And just like totally ignore the person that's yelling. And then if the guy keeps, or the lady, whoever it is, person keeps yelling, say, hey, you want to go get some coffee or something like that, and take them away from the situation. What do you guys think about that? Is this a practical thing, or you just see yourself getting yourself into trouble?
I mean, that takes a lot of confidence. If it's just a random person on the street, you have to be willing to do that. So I don't know if everyone would be able to do that, but it's a good solution, I think.
Anybody else? What do you think?
Of course it's practical. I know when I go to school, somebody was going to ask me how I felt about the election, knowing that I was Muslim, and I don't know their intention, but I do know that they are one to speak up in the classroom whenever they think something's going wrong. So what my friend did, I don't even know her that well. I think I had her in like one of my classes way back when. But he was talking to me, and he was just like, so how do you feel now? Do you feel scared that you're going to be deported? And I was shook, because why would you ask me that? But then my friend talked to me, and she was like, hey, she asked me questions about like my history class. And then at the end of it, I asked her like why she did that. And she was like, oh, because his feelings are irrelevant, and what he's saying to you was also irrelevant. So we're going to act like what he is and make sure he knows that he's irrelevant.
That's heavy stuff. And I want to remind you guys that words hurt more than hands sometimes. So this is really important. But I'm going to tie something in. I just got a little note here. This is going to tie into what Harun said about people going up to people and saying bye. So something just recently happened. The U.S. officials think that Abdul Razak Ali Artan is the Somali student at Ohio State University who was the predator or perpetrator of the violent attack at Ohio State University. And they believe he became radicalized and he acted alone. But 2 days after it happened, they said that President-elect Trump tweeted that Artan was, and I quote, a Somali refugee who should not have been in our country anyway, right? So when Muslims or immigrants do something now in this climate that other people are doing, do you guys think that, one, it's fair for people to focus on that and say, hey, well, they shouldn't have been here anyway? Or do you think that, you should focus on what they did and the punishment for what they did and think about the person and all these things that you were saying? And also, is it even possible for people to do that in this climate?
I don't feel like people should jump to conclusions. And also, what's very interesting is always in the media, when a violent act is committed by someone who happens to be Muslim or happens to be an immigrant or somewhat of not white descent, they go down like to the grain about their life and activities that they did and how this could correlate to that. And yet, if there's something that happens either by a Christian white male, they don't go that into it. So I feel like the media is biased in a standpoint like that. But also, I was in history class, and my teacher pulled up this article, and she's like, read the top, and it says, Ohio State attacker is part of ISIS. That was the headline, and she's like, now read the article. And in the article, they said he could have correlation. They don't have any evidence yet. And so it's very, very interesting of the little things that they pinpoint and put together.
In the title, and most people just read the titles, right? It says one thing, but then when you read the article, it's something completely different. So I would agree, the media is biased. What would you say? We just got to, I got to wrap up. We got to end the show, but what would you say about that?
So, yeah, the media does change some stuff. Like, they try to pinpoint what they believe is right, but you also have to see everything else. Like, I was watching on news that the government does not make a decision until they actually see everything for every case. But other people that are watching the media, because they change stuff, they make the assumption that they're a terrorist. So the government does try to do their best and see every determining factor that can change something.
Anything on this side? Any final comments?
No, I think that's good.
I think that's good. You want to leave it there? What about you, Fatima?
Yeah, I agree with everything that everyone says, that the media does pick and choose what they want to see in order to get more viewer counts. So.
Yeah, ratings are good. We're trying to get some ratings here. Gee, hope you guys are tuning in. I just want to wrap up by thanking. Give them a round of applause, everybody. Everybody. Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
To Harun Salaam there on the left, the future animator and professional and dancer, and Fatima, who's going to be civil rights attorney.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
And Mr. Hamza, who's a world-renowned martial artist in his own right, and also extremely patient and I don't know, he's just got a sense of peace about him. And the well-spoken Amani Haj Majid, all the way from Madeira High School. This has been an amazing show. I hope you guys tune in the next time we come back to Deen Talk. We're gonna have more. Yes, I got this. We're gonna have more exciting topics. We're gonna have more guests. We're gonna have more pizza. You guys aren't gonna have pizza, but these guys are gonna have some pizza because they came to the studio. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time on Deen Talk. You've been watching Deen TV, always on, always live, and I'm Joshua Salaam, your host. See you next time.